Hey, everybody. Today we are going to talk about how to solve for the measure of a missing angle when you're given a pair of angles. So, hopefully, you're already familiar with this vocabulary. If not, you might need to hop back a video and watch the introduction to the vocabulary because we're jumping straight into the solving today. So, the first kind of angles we want to talk about are adjacent angles. And you should remember that adjacent angles share a common side and a common vertex. They do not have a specific defined sum that they equal. You have to read the problem to get that information. So if you remember, complementary means 90, supplementary means 180, adjacent means whatever they tell you in the question. Okay, so if we look at this question over here, I'm going to start with method one. If we look at this question over here, it says that these two angles have a sum of 112 degrees. So that means this whole thing is 112 degrees. And we know that the left side is 61, so our job is to find the right side. And we can do that just by subtracting. So you do the whole measure of the angles minus the part that you do know, and that will give you the other part. And 112 minus 61 is 51 degrees. So the missing angle, angle CAR or RAC, is 51 degrees. And that's one really simple way to do it. Now, there is another way that takes a little more setup, but it will be more helpful to you when you get to the more complex problems. So I'm going to use a different color, and over here for method number two, we're going to solve for that same angle, but using an equation. So the way that we do that is sort of the opposite. Instead of subtracting, we're going to add. We're going to add the two individual angles. So we know that FAR is 61 degrees. And we know that RAC is X degrees, as in we don't know what it equals yet. But we do know that together they have a sum, which tells us to add. They have a sum of 112 degrees. So then all we would have to do to get our answer is solve this one-step equation. And we should, if we've done everything correctly, get the same answer that we got the first time, which we do. We get 51 degrees. And you may be thinking, it's so much easier just to do the first way. And for now, it might be, but once you get into more complex problems, you're really going to need that equation method. So if you understand that now, you will be set for the future. Okay? Let's look at a different kind of angle. Let's look at vertical angles. So hopefully we know that vertical angles are congruent. Congruent, which means they are equal to each other. All right. So in this, there's no whole minus part equals part. There's no setting up an equation. If you're given some pictures like this, all you really have to do is write the angles that are equal or write the measures, okay? So we're going to fill in the blanks here that say which angles are equal to each other, and I'm going to start with this one right here. So this blue angle is HAD. And if I want to know which one it is congruent to, I'm going to look across from that angle, and that's the one that's congruent to it. And you can kind of tell in this picture because they're both acute angles. So HAD is congruent to CAJ. And then I'm going to erase all of that, and we're going to do the other pair of angles. So here I have this obtuse angle, JAD, and it is congruent to the one across from it. So that's CAH. So I'm going to write that down. And then the only other thing that I could really do here is I can label them with the exact numbers. So if this angle over here is 35, this angle over here is also 35 degrees. And then if this angle down here is 145, this angle up here is also 145 degrees. So we wrote a lot of stuff down, but there wasn't really much math to do. It was just about knowing which ones are equal to each other. Last two kinds are complementary and supplementary, and these are going to be similar to adjacent, except that they always have a specific number that they equal. So we know that complementary angles have a sum of 90 degrees. So in every single one of these problems, whether we're doing method 1 or method 2, we're going to be using that number 90. Okay, so let's look at method 1. It says that angle GCJ is 33 degrees. So I'm going to write that in there. I'm going to label my picture. And then this box in the corner and the fact that they're complementary tells me that both angles equal a whole of 90 degrees. So I'm going to put 90, that's my whole amount, and I'm going to subtract the part that I know, and that's going to give me my missing angle measure, which is 57 degrees. So MCG is 57 degrees. And of course, there is another method to do this, and that's with an equation. So in it, you take the two angles that we were given in the problem and you equal them to 90. So I'm going to erase my answer from over here. Pretend we didn't have that for a second. I know that one of my angles was 33, and then the other angle, the one that I'm solving for, is a mystery. So I'm going to put an X there, like I don't know what it is. And together, those two angles have to equal 90 degrees. So I'm going to solve this little one-step equation by subtracting 33 on both sides. I get X equals 57, and I can confirm, yes, this angle equals 57 degrees. So when you're given the whole thing, you're just trying to find the one missing piece. They'll always give you two pieces of information in a question like this. You'll know what it equals as a whole, and then they'll give you an angle measure. Okay, so I guess they're giving you one piece and you just have to know the other. Supplementary works pretty much the exact same way, except this time it's equal to 180 degrees. And this question is worded a little bit differently, but it's just so that we can practice with different kinds. So down at the bottom, it says, find the measure of HKD. So if it says find the measure, that means we don't know what that is. So that's going to be our X. Given that the measure of angle SKH is 59 degrees. So we know the smaller angle, we don't know the bigger one. So we're going to take the whole thing, and since they're on a straight line, we know that the whole thing is 180, and we're going to do 180 minus the part that we know, and that will give us the other part, which is 121 degrees. Make sure you're always using your calculator just to double check yourself. I don't have mine pulled up right now because I want to leave this full screen, but always use yours. Okay, let's do the other method. The other method is you take the two pieces, the two angles that you're given, the 59 and the X, and you know that together they have to equal 180 degrees. So you make yourself a little equation. You solve your little one-step equation. And you should get the same answer. And that is because this angle over here, this one, equals 121 degrees. And something I should have mentioned in this one and complementary and adjacent is you can always check yourself. So you can do 59 plus 121 and make sure it gives you 180. In complementary, you could do 33 plus 57 and make sure it gives you 90. In adjacent, remember the number changes every time. So for the adjacent one, we would just take our two angle measures, the 61, and then the answer that we got, the 51, and make sure they add up to 112. So should have shared that with you earlier. But yeah, you can definitely check your answers on these. Okay, awesome. See you guys next time.